Not so long ago, in a land not so very far away, there lived a king, a queen, and a princess. They lived happy and content, until one day, far away in the distance, the king heard a terrible growl. The growl of a fearful beast. It was far away in the distance, but the king could hear it clearly. Many days passed, and the king heard no more of the vile creature. One morning, when the king was out riding his horse, he once again heard the low rumbling roar of the beast. This time, the roar was closer, and the king thought he could see the dark form of the beast creeping in the shadows. He rode all the way home and raised the drawbridge behind him. He said nothing of what had happened to the queen, and tried to forget the terrible growls that now haunted his dreams. A few days later, the king was asleep in his chamber when he was awoken by the bellowing roar of the beast. By now, the king knew he had to tell the queen of what had befallen him. The king explained that he'd hoped the beast would go away, and he didn't want to frighten the queen and the princess. But the beast didn't go away. Day by day, it became stronger and bolder. Its claws sharpened, its skin thickened, and soon the king knew it would no longer need to hide in the shadows. The king paced the hallways and corridors of the castle, gathering his thoughts, trying to think of how he might defeat the beast. He sought counsel and summoned his most trusted advisor. He yearned for an answer, a solution that would allow him to return to the life he knew. But no answer would come, only more questions. The king gathered his knights around him, and between them they bravely plotted and planned the downfall of the beast. They had seen many like it before, and had fought its kind countless times. Many times they had won, many times they had lost. He returned to the castle and told the queen and princess of the news. They were fearful and begged the king not to go to war. As the sun rose the next day, the king collected his armor and his sword and shield. The queen and princess came to the castle gates to bid farewell to the king. He set out on his long journey and rode to the crest of the hill to rendezvous with his knights. Soon they would reach the lair of the beast. As they drew near, they heard the terrible roaring and caught sight of the beast lurching and snarling in the forest. They approached and drew their swords, circling the beast as it cleared the trees. They fought all day, striking at the beast, the king swinging his sword with all his might. But still it roared, and still it lurched forward, snapping its teeth and whipping its tail. 5 days passed, and on each day the king and his knights fought with all their might, but still the beast attacked. On the 6th day, the king cornered the beast and forced it into a cave. There was only enough room for the king to enter the cave. The king entered the darkness of the cave. Following the low grumble of the beast, he drew his sword. Cobwebs covered his armor, clinging to his arms and legs, slowing his footsteps until he could hardly move. Soon the king was stuck fast and could move no more. The beast drew in, burning the king with its scalding breath, its ferocious roar rattling his bones and sapping his strength. Just as the king was about to give up hope, something magical happened. From deep inside the cave, a mysterious light began to flicker. Soon the whole cave was bathed in light, and the beast cowered at the sight of it, staggering back and forth, trying to hide, but there was nowhere left to go. Full of rage and anguish, the beast released a fearful roar, and at last it fell silent. As the king journeyed home, the knights and the king's council gathered and gave news of the king's mighty battle with the beast. They told of the cave and the blinding light and the king's victory. The fight was at an end. The king watched over his family in the many years that passed. He kept them safe and watched as the princess grew and grew. The beast was never heard of again. The people of the kingdom rejoiced, and the king, queen, and princess lived happily ever after.